Little Novels by Wilkie Collins, a series of 5 short stories dramatised by John Arden, with Ronald Pickup as Wilkie Collins. Number 4, Miss Bertha and the Yankee.
My name was Bertha Laroche. People said I was quite childlike for my age.
My name was Wilkie Collins. I was lounging mid-afternoon on the deck of this yacht, which belongs to my friend Ned Piggott, somewhere between the Solent and Beachy Head. The breeze had altogether dropped, and then imperceptibly out of the swirls of mist on the sun-warmed surface of the sea, first it was the voice.
I was just 21, in the year 1817, when all at once I found myself with 2 most gentlemanly lovers, both at the same time, and either of them quite suitable. But one of them killed the other one, and then the other one killed the first, as it were, in a manner of speaking, as if. Was not that macabre?
After the voice, together with the voice, it became visible, a sort of a shape upon the water. No one else aboard the yacht was aware of her.
My father was a sugar planter, a Creole in the French West Indies, not at all prosperous. He died when I was a child.
She's drifted here into my daydream, having something, so she thinks, important to say to me. Macabre. Just the kind of thing Mr. Wilkie Collins would long for, so she must think, for one of his stories. But no, says Mr. Collins, I am not desirous at all, so let her drift off again. A phantom, that's all she is. I know nothing about her.
My mother was English, cast out by her proud family because of her ignoble marriage to a foreigner of mixed blood. And yet, by some quirk of the law, she came to inherit great portions of the family wealth. And so, when she died, I inherited from her. I was suddenly a rich young woman.
A beautiful heiress, in peril from adventurers. That theme is surely exhausted, and anyway, I've already written it. The Woman in White.
No, that's not the story. It sounds as if it should be, but no.
And I'm exhausted, too, thoroughly disrupted upon one of the few occasions when I am not gripped by a seizure of rheumatic or neuralgic agony, nor under any vehement influence of narcotic. Oh, but she's not alone. Oh, I see the shape of another one, female as well, and a kind of a fluttering black flag. Oh, good Lord, no. It's a clergyman. Good Lord, this is nothing less than a ghostly deputation, all 3 of them swarming aboard, all 3 of them stark dead. 1817, did I hear her say? 70 years ago.
It is not an exhausted theme. It is a perfectly true narrative. I was a witness to it, and now I am a witness to the veracity of my niece. You don't have to move from your deck chair. Just listen. That's all we ask.
Madam, am I to take it you are Miss Bertha's aunt?
Maternal aunt. She took me to live with her in Nettlegrove Hall in Derbyshire, the house she had inherited upon the death of her beloved mother.
Her death under that same roof. Every day my aunt and I would weep in one another's arms that I should own such a property at such a heart-rending cost.
We were weak and out of spirits, both of us. I feared for her permanent health. So I thought a change of scene.
To Maplesworth Spa, there to take the waters.
Only a few miles away. Strongly recommended.
I was happy enough to comply with what my aunt and the medical man urged. It did, however, distress me to think that for the first time since coming from the West Indies, I was about to immerse myself in extensive social intercourse. Maplesworth is fashionable. I was frankly afraid of it.
I told her qualms were absurd.
No. Not absurd.
What did I tell you? The girl was besieged by fortune hunters. These spas were notorious for...
No, I was well protected.
By me. And I'm shrewd enough, I hope, against such attempts. Alas, this was a case when all seemed quite perfectly in order. Both of the gentlemen were sufficiently wealthy and given admirable characters by very respectable persons. Their courtship of Bertha was one to be encouraged. That is, if she wished to encourage it.
They were introduced to me in the pump room by the medical superintendent. The first was a military officer with whiskers and a beautiful smile.
Arthur Stanek, ma'am. Captain of the Bengal Light Infantry. Oh, charming locality, Maplesworth, don't you find?
I think he observed I was as shy as himself. He kept his eyes upon me, addressed his words to my aunt. His friend was an American, unusual in Derbyshire. No whiskers to speak of, scarcely a hint of a smile.
Lionel Varley, gentleman of leisure, not to say self-indulgence, of Boston, Massachusetts, supposedly on the grand tour of Europe. Captain Stanek insisted I visit France via Maplesworth. He said in no wise must I forego the strenuous fluid they peddle here. I calculate the sulfur mines have been leaking into the creek. May I offer you a lozenge to banish the flavor?
I thank you, sir.
There's commonly a medical prejudice against sugar plums. Don't let the doctor see you eat it.
Oh, the American set me so easily at ease. Too easily, I felt. He was not perhaps sincere. Whereas the English captain, so awkward, yet always smiling between his beautiful whiskers. Somehow, it was the captain I kept thinking of, in and out of my dreams all night.
The next day, both gentlemen offered to accompany us on a drive through the famous scenery near the town. Bertha and I in our open carriage. They were on horseback, either side of us.
These inconsiderable hills, Miss LaRoche, I guess they'd be the awful declivities of the Peak District we hear so much about from romantic topographers.
There is little that is awful about any English landscape, Mr. Varley, when compared with the far side of the Atlantic, as I know from my own experience. Jungle, volcanoes, palm trees. Massachusetts abounds in volcanoes, or not?
I should say not, ma'am. Nor palm trees neither. Now, in India, I can assure you, mountains, jungle, palm trees, as many as you wish. Volcanoes, very probably, too.
Except you don't happen to have seen any.
Oh, goodness, how hot it is. Why do we not halt for a while in the shade at the edge of that wood?
We not only halted, but dismounted and began to walk. The wood at first was cool and surprisingly dark.
May we hold still a moment? There's no regular path. Best I should take a bearing with my pocket compass.
We are not in the forests of Pennsylvania. Who needs a compass for half a mile of thicket? This way, surely.
Do you know, I find this wood quite horribly gloomy. A mistake to have thought it would be cool.
Perhaps we should return to the carriage. This way.
What?
Oh, good heavens! It's a snake! Is it poisonous?
It could be. There, you devil! There! That settled him.
Poisonous? No. Oh, no, a harmless little grass snake. But if it had been a viper...
Our lives would have been saved, ma'am, by the valor of the Indian Army.
It seemed to me afterwards that Captain Stanek took too much pleasure in scotching the creature.
Now, which way do we go here? Left?
No, to the right, surely.
Nonsense, man. Left. Put your damn compass away. Use your native wit, if you have any.
I do. It agrees with the compass. Let's go left.
By all means, to the left.
The sooner we're out of here, the better for all of us. These insects are impossible. Left, in fact, was right. We were out of that wood in 5 minutes.
Tell me, though, why is the clergyman here? He hasn't said a word. He stands quivering over against the mainmast, sidelong. He will not show his face.
He is the rector of Nettlegrove, a good man consumed with remorse. You'll soon find out why. Bertha, continue.
Day after day, the two gentlemen lingered in Maplesworth. They came constantly courting me. Innocent and stupid, I encouraged them both. I was not quite so sure now that I preferred Captain Stanek, but both of them, in truth, were always agreeable to me. At first, they would visit me together, but at length they began to present themselves separately. I ought to have known what that meant.
Bad blood, no doubt of it.
Captain Stanley came one morning and...
In my absence, he had the audacity to propose marriage to my niece.
Not in so many words.
He deliberately entrapped her. She was most inexperienced. I blame myself I was not there. It appears that he said to her...
He did not say he loved me. He spoke instead of...
The tenderest feelings, Miss Laroche. The most delicate respect, admiration for your character and in short, your person. Shall not, I assure you, I shall not detain you directly today for a direct answer, but...
Oh, my dear Captain Stanek, I am so warmly, sincerely sensible of the compliment, the tribute you pay me, but...
No, not but. Must not say but. Leave your glowing words where they were before you said it, for you said what you meant. And so, let me take my leave. Your dear Captain Stanek, the happiest man in Derbyshire.
In a flourish of bows and wavings of his hat and flicks of his fingertips to his lips. Gracious heaven, what had I said? I looked back upon my words with dismay. Half an hour afterwards...
Miss Laroche.
Mr. Varley! He refused to sit down, burst straight into an extraordinary speech.
Miss Laroche, it rests with you to decide whether I shall relieve you of my presence by leaving the room.
Had he suddenly lost his wits? Or more probably, was he drunk? What, Mr. Varley, can you possibly mean?
Is it indeed your wish that I should pay you no more visits except in Captain Stanek's company, or by Captain Stanek's express permission?
Of course not. Who said so?
Stanek, half an hour ago. Well?
Stanek, how dare he? I was so angry. I at once agreed to make Mr. Varley welcome whenever he should choose to come. Moreover, I promised that I should visit him at his lodgings the very next day. He was on his way out when my aunt arrived, not best pleased to see him there, nor at what he said as he left.
Our appointment then tomorrow, 11:30, Miss Laroche. Excellent. Ladies, I bid you good day.
Appointment? With him? Bertha, I am at a loss to account for your behaviour. I have just met Captain Stanek in the street. Bertha, he told me you have favourably received his proposal of marriage.
No, indeed. No such thing. Never.
Oh, well. Maybe not. Nevertheless, you should not meet Mr. Varley until all misunderstandings are set right.
If I go back on my word to him, it will seem as though I acknowledge the authority of the captain. Dear aunt, I will not do that. Outrageous. Insulting. In the end, Mr. Collins, we agreed to wait until the following morning.
Wait for what?
To wait to decide whether I should write on behalf of my niece, excusing her from her visit to Mr. Varley. I thought, once she'd slept upon it, she would see clear enough the impossibility of her conduct and conceivably extricate herself from both of these gentlemen.
But, aunt, I didn't want to do that. To extricate, no. And I didn't get the chance. For first thing the next morning, Captain Stanek burst into the house, horrible, accusing
her with unbelievable rudeness.
Has that man Varley told the truth? Or does he lie? He informs me explicitly that you, Miss Laroche, have given him hopes. After the words you said to me.
Captain Stanek, you...
Madam, I am talking to this young lady. It is my misfortune to love her. No mere flirtation. It is the passion of my whole life. Last night for me was a night of sleepless misery, all because of her. And she is not worth it. My God, the girl is laughing at me. Miss Laroche, if you...
Alter your tone to my niece, sir, or I take her straight out of the room.
Miss Laroche, if you go to Varley this morning, you'll repent it to the last day of your life.
Of course, Mr. Collins. After that, I had no choice but to go to him. My aunt, under protest, came with me. She told Mr. Varley she was bringing me home to Nettlegrove. I told him that I hoped that one day he would visit us there. I was not what you'd call fervent. I had had a bad fright. I was now doing my best to be careful. But I did think, if I married anyone, it would surely be Lionel Varley.
By the evening, we were once again in Nettlegrove Hall. How can anyone assert that either of us could possibly have foreseen the dreadful events that would shortly take place in the wood at Maplesworth? Let nobody think my niece to be a heartless young woman. However,
My worst fault was ignorance. I knew nothing of those false pretenses toward women, beneath which men conceal all that is selfish and savage in their natures.
however it might have been, how far either of us may fairly be judged at fault, the fact is we left Nettlegrove immediately.
My aunt was most upset, even more so than I was. We drove straight to the port of Hull and took ship for Hamburg.
I thought it desirable we should tour upon the continent for a space of several months, and so we did.
And so, we met no one to inform us of the subsequent truth until...
Until she returned. Misfortunate young lady, victim of circumstance.
Aha, we hear from the rector at last.
Yet in her grace, her loveliness, she herself was a circumstance that produced its own victims. And that was the truth she came home to comprehend. Alas, alas, that I should have failed to shield her from...
This rector of Nettlegrove, or rather his wraith, seems not to be complete, wavering, wafting half there, half not there. His voice, moreover, likewise strained and unnaturally distorted, which perhaps might cast doubt upon the value of his testimony.
No, for out of the torture of my spirit I am utterly candid. How could I be otherwise? An unhappy man trusted me. I failed him as well, don't you see? And he died.
So now you're eternally frantic in your huge desire to tell. So tell. You were saying...
You were saying that Miss Bertha and her aunt came home after several months abroad, yes?
Yes. And no sooner home, but Miss Bertha came to the rectory, crying out for a private interview. Oh, but her appearance alarmed me, gasping and panic-stricken. Pray, take your time, my dear young lady. Or would you prefer me to fetch my wife?
No. But if you could just give me a hand to encourage me, and speak as I can, while I can.
And what did she tell me but what has already been told? How two men, good friends, now hated each other because of her, and how she had not heard
a word of either of them from the day I left Maplesworth until this morning as I walked in Nettlegrove Park. The mist was very thick, and then, behind me, footsteps. I turned and Captain Stannick, here! Why?
I have come to inform you that Varley and I have met. And we fought. And he's dead. My friend the Debonair Yankee is dead, and they shut me in a madhouse, but I fled. And you are the cause. Unless you confess that you can love me as I have loved you, I shall die by my own hand. Dead. Mad. Dead. Fled.
He retreated several paces, turned to go, turned about again.
It is not safe for me to walk in daylight. But tonight, at set of sun, here in this place, meet me!
I dare not tell my aunt. Captain Stannick has already appalled her. Now that I know Mr. Varley is dead, I know my own heart toward Captain Stannick. Horror and aversion. I implore you to advise me. What am I to do?
What, indeed? Dear child, your duty, alas, as a Christian, I see no other way, is unavoidably once again to meet this miserable man.
Oh, no.
But, oh, yes, you must. We cannot leave him alone. But we won't alarm your aunt. I will come with you. Yes. He was waiting where he said he'd be waiting. He was furious when he saw me. He shouted out that poor Miss Bertha had betrayed him.
Betrayed? Most damnably betrayed!
Sir, I am here in loco parentis. This young lady is an orphan. She shall not stand alone.
Oh, but she shall, and does. There's only one she must stand with, and that's me. Only one she shall marry. For who else will have her
blackamoor, half redskin that she is.
Oh, my God!
She has hooked me with her gaff under the jaw. We are never to be divided now. Miss Laroche, do you hear me? You are all that I have. For otherwise I have nothing. Not even my honour as a soldier. For Varley was killed by means of a foul stroke. I had choice of weapons. I chose swords. I had paid £50 to a fencing master, a damned foreigner, greedy and needy, to teach me a trick, a cheat. For Varley was by far the better swordsman, and we fought without seconds, lest somebody should blab, because the Maplesworth magistrates are so hot against duelling. It was in that very wood where you saw me kill the snake. Which was the more dangerous, the serpent or the Yankee?
Please, one question. How are you so positive Mr. Varley is dead? There was never a word in the newspapers. If Varley is not dead, Miss Laroche, then it's all hallucination, and that's why he was in the madhouse.
Whispering secrets? No, none of that. Stand away from her. How do I know he's dead? You are a parson, and you ask such a question. If I had not killed him, how should I see his ghost over and over again? And every time I see it, my hand that held the sword is contorted with cramp. As now, this very minute. Look, between those trees. There he is. His dark hair, his shaven face, the glare of his two white eyes. Oh, Miss Laroche, you would not deceive me. You can see him, can't you?
No. No, I don't see him. Nobody there. No.
I looked. I saw nobody. And then Stenick fell to his knees, like a savage adoring an idol.
Oh, there's nobody there. No, he has gone at your words, and I don't see him neither. You know what this means. He loved you when he lived. He is a merciful spirit. He has left me for your sake. He will release me for your sake. So therefore, he would tell you, you must pity me for his sake. Take me to live with you. Promise me to look after me, and then, if you do, I shall never see him again. Oh, Miss Laroche!
For God's sake, leave go of the lady!
Not until I hear her give the promise! Take your hand off her yourself! You would you?
He struck the rector to the ground. He dragged me away from him, insisting. And in the end, I did promise. Dire and wretched promise. Sincere? Even now, I don't know my own motive. I had once felt so strong an attraction to him. And then, he felt quite quiet. He was walking me along beside him, arm in arm, almost like a husband. He stopped, peered through the twilight at a gap in the trees just ahead.
Look, where I look. My God, he's there again. But you can't see him, can you? Tell me you can't.
But I can. Heaven help me. The gait and shape and face of Lionel Varley.
Oh, God. Then this must mean I've been so terribly mistaken. The promise you made brings only his hatred, never his love. He will haunt us both forever. We are never, ever able to love one another again. Oh, my love, you were my love. Goodbye. Goodbye forever!
He touched her cold cheek with his lips, turned away, leapt over the little brook, and was at once lost to sight in the valley beyond. The phantom likewise turned, leapt over the brook, followed Captain Stenick, and vanished
as he had vanished.
Gone.
Phantom, he says. Nonsense. Of course, Lionel Varley had never been killed. Stannick, in a panic, had left him in the wood at Maplesworth, covered in blood. Somebody found him and cured him, and so he came to Nettlegrove. And what did he see as he strolled up through the park? Bertha in a state of quivering shock, an old fool of a parson on his knees with a black eye, and Stannick in full flight like a terrified highwayman.
Which brings us to the end of the story, where the lunatic captain puts the bullet through his brain, am I right?
Quite right, except he chose to cut his throat. Went all the way back to the wood near Maplesworth, the exact spot where the duel took place. And Varley was arrested for murdering him.
Arrested, tried, acquitted.
Acquitted, to be sure, for what it's worth. And can you believe that this young woman, after all of the paroxysm and shock and sensation, agreed, just like that, to become Mrs. Lionel Varley and abruptly set sail for Massachusetts? Good God, Mr. Collins, can you believe?
Mr. Collins must believe, because he is going to write my story. Macabre, is it not?
Is it? What is macabre? Blood-stained insanity, swords, cutthroat razors, or an unaccountable gap in the logic of cause and effect? How, for example, Captain Stannick could be haunted over and over again by the man he thought he'd killed, whereas Varley was to say that after the duel he only saw Stannick once. Who then, or what, was the captain's abhorrent visitor? I'd have asked my own 3 visitors, but they were blown away like spray from the deck of the yacht. The wind had sprung up. We swooped across the wave-tops under a glittering sunshine sky.
In Miss Bertha and the Yankee by Wilkie Collins, dramatised by John Arden, Ronald Pickup was Wilkie Collins, Alison Pettit, Bertha LaRoche, Jenny Lee, her aunt, David Timpson, Captain Arthur Stannick, David Jarvis, Lionel Varley, and Ewan Meredith, the rector of Nettlegrove. The pianist was Colin Guthrie. The director was David Blunt.